In this video, I'm going to go over some of the principles of software architecture that help you build a project that's more extensible, maintainable, and easier to manage with multiple team members. The first thing I'm going to cover is encapsulation, and primarily what it is not. Encapsulation is the idea that any given mechanic does one thing, and if you have one mechanic that's doing multiple things, then it's not good software architecture or design. An example here is we have a bullet and a building interaction. In this case, the building has an on-collision enter functionality that detects if it's a bullet and it calls a function called trigger hit. It will have the bullet run the trigger hit functionality with a reference to the building object. It will get the building's hit points directly and reduce it by the damage that the bullet keeps track of. And if the building's hit points are less than or equal to 0, it will tell the building to destroy itself. Otherwise, it will set the new hit points on the building. This is problematic because the building has a lot of things happening, a lot of logic that are being controlled by a script that is not itself. The bullet is also going to detect if the building is destroyed and if it was a player castle, and if so, it's going to end the game. The problem with this design is that the bullet is doing a lot more than it should, and it doesn't make sense for the bullet to be handling how much hit points the building is at, or to be ending the game. The only thing that a bullet really should be focusing on is did it encounter an object, and and then telling that object how much damage it should take, and then probably destroying itself. So what do we do instead? We should have the bullet keep track of how much damage it does, and when it collides with something, detect, is this a building? If so, tell the building to take some damage. It will then send that amount of damage to the building and wash its hands of the situation. The building then takes the damage, reduces the health, and detects if the health goes below 0, and handles die internally. Likewise, if it's appropriate, it will end the game because this building died. This is a much simpler and much more streamlined and sensible way to handle your flow of mechanics. It's easier for somebody who approaches it to understand what's going on, and it also just makes more sense because the only thing that a bullet should worry about is if it hits something it should be hitting and making it take the damage. And the building should be receiving the damage and handling all of the functionality related to that internally, as well as whether or not the game should end.